What's up, family? Thank you for tuning in to the DreamNation podcast. My name is Casanova. I'll be your host, and I'm excited to be bringing to you entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and trailblazers from around the world. Stay locked in with us because we're about to go on a journey that will change your life. What's up, DreamNation? So today on the line, we're going to come at you from a different avenue. I want to make sure that not only every time you listen to an episode that you are inspired, that you're impacted, but at the same time that you can leave with something educational that you can now take and run with, and it's going to better your life, 30, 60, 90 days from now. And so that's why I got my man on the line today. I got Mr. MG himself. Now, if you haven't been living under a rock, I'm sure you've seen him on Instagram, on YouTube. He's crushing it everywhere that he is right now. He's putting on seminars for wealth building. But I want to give him an opportunity to say what's up to you all first. Mr. MG, Matt Garland, can you say what's up?
What's good? What's good? What's good, people?
Good. And so I like to always go back in the time to when you were a young kid. Let me ask, before you've been in the mortgage industry for now more than 15 years?
Going on year 17 in November.
Man, year 17, longevity and stability. I love it. So before that, before you've seen the crashes, the rises, you've seen all of these different, type of wealth building strategies. Let's go back though to when you were a young boy. Tell me, who is MG Matthew Garland?
Man, you taking it back, man. You want to go back to the Brooklyn days, right? So I'm born in the 70s. I'm 40 years old, grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. Now, I grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn when it was known as Crooklyn. You know what I'm saying? When it was Bed-Stuy, do or die. Not the gentrification Bed-Stuy, right? So it was a different era. Grew up in the projects. Family owned the brownstone also. So just a Brooklyn native. Moved to Queens probably when I was around 11, 12 years old, 6th, 7th grade, something like that. And then, but if you ask me where I'm from, people say, I'm from Brooklyn, but I'm also from Queens. So I'm like the best of both worlds. You know what I'm saying? Like that Brooklyn and Queens flavor. But, taking it back, man, grew up probably like anybody else, man. Grew up in the rough times. It was a lot of drugs growing up. There was a lot of crime growing up. My family is either drug dealers or drug users. So it was, you kind of had to pick your lane of where you wanted to be at in life. And, thank God, my father, God bless the dead, he kept his foot on my neck and made sure that I didn't end up like certain people in my family or friends in the streets and things like that. And I think I turned out pretty okay because of my pops,
Got it. No,
So,
what age, if you don't mind us asking, what age did you lose your pops?
Oh, I lost my pops recently. My father passed away. My son will be 12 this year. So my father actually June 10th will be his 12-year death anniversary.
Got it. Well, our condolences, definitely my condolences on your dad. Of course, I know what it's like to lose a parent, and that's tough, especially when they're in your life, when they wanted to keep their foot on your neck because they wanted you to succeed. So talk to me about going back though. Did you always know that you had, that you wanted to be in money management? You wanted to help? Like, what was that like growing up for you? Were you always exposed to different things or what?
Man, like I just told you, man, I come from a different era. So I was exposed to a lot of things that I don't know if you really want to touch on this podcast. But
we always love it. We love to know who we're talking to, and then at the end we get the nooks and crannies.
Listen, man, like I said, man, growing up, you either was a drug dealer or a drug user. My mother was on drugs majority of my life. Most people grow up in my area with deadbeat dads. I kind of had a deadbeat mom, and I'm not trying to talk bad about her or anything like that. But, I just didn't have that relationship with my mother growing up. So my father was my mother and my father. So, but my father, he's a veteran. He was an entrepreneur. He had a bodega. He lost the bodega, and he started working for transit. So from what I learned from my father was work ethic. My father worked for New York City Transit, and he would go to work. I don't care what the weather was, right? This man is at work, overtime. He's doing what he had to do. So from an early age, I saw work ethic and what it meant. It didn't matter if he was sick, I mean, my father done had a heart attack in the house and still wanted to go to work. You know, that's the type of work ethic that man had. So that's what I learned from him. But like any parent growing up that don't take risk, you know, he had real estate, but he lost it because he didn't have that financial management background. He overextended himself. So when it came down to financial management, I didn't learn that in the house. You know, I just learned you had to go to work. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't teach us how to manage our money. He didn't teach us any of that. His main thing for me and my little sister was you're gonna finish high school and you're gonna get a city job. You know, that was it. That was like the end all be all. Go get a job, go get some benefits, and that's your life is set for you after that. You don't need to do anything else, right? So, you know, I never knew I was going to be in money management. I got into the mortgage business by accident. You know, I was working at TSA, and, you know, right after 9/11, I just moved back from North Carolina, and I'm a college dropout, but I'm still loving my Eagles. What's up, NCCU? Whoever's listening to this, you got Eagle pride, so do I. Even though I'm a dropout, I was still there for 5 years. So shout out to all my Dermites. But it was you know, coming back, I had to get a job. You know, I was working at TSA, and I was broke. You know, I still wasn't making no money. And make a long story short, my best friend, who's a pastor now, he told me, he's like, listen, look in the paper and look for jobs called loan officer. So I'm like, what the hell is a loan officer? He said, you know, the guys that give you a mortgage. I'm like, what the hell is a mortgage, bro? He was like, you know, when you buy a house, you need a loan. I'm like, a mortgage? He's like, yeah, you know my guy, little Ant, he's down here, he's killing it. And I know you can do it because you're a hustler. I'm like, all right. So I looked in the paper, and I saw so many jobs for loan officers. And at that time, I was still looking for like customer service jobs, like telemarketing jobs, but I always overlooked loan officer or anything banking because I felt like I wasn't qualified for it. And I called up a couple companies. I went on some interviews. They hired me on the spot, and I've been in the mortgage business ever since, man.
Man, I love it. And you dropped so many nuggets in there. First off, I love the fact that you were aware that you said, hey, my dad, he's owned real estate, he's had businesses, and he's failed at them, right? And talk to me about how much do you think that contributed to your seeing the industry? Because a lot of people in 2008, when you had that market crash for real estate, a lot of mortgage loan officers got out, right? But do you think that contributed to your mindset because you had already been exposed to this from your dad kind of getting in and out and seeing that failure was going to come? You know, I always say when it rains, it pours. You just got to be able to weather the storm.
Well, to be honest, I didn't look at it like that, right? I just looked at it, that's just was life because where I grew up, everyone was poor. Everyone was always losing their property or they didn't have money. So for me, it was normal to be broke. You know what I'm saying? Like broke was normal.
Right.
And that sounds crazy, but that's just how I grew up. We grew up poor, you know, paycheck to paycheck, eating Chinese food. You know, I grew up in the streets of New York, you know what I'm saying? And that's just how it was. So from him going through his trials and tribulations, obviously we always want to be better than what our parents were. We always want to do better. But again, I still didn't have that financial teaching. So even when I first came into business, to be honest, I was blowing money as fast as I was getting it because you making all this money, you don't think that a recession is coming in 4 years. So I'm doing what I got to do. My whole thing is I wanted to be fly. You know, I wanted to have the nicest clothes. I wanted to have the nicest cars. I wanted to have the nice watch. You know, I wanted real estate, but I wanted to flip, but I didn't really understand the flipping game, although I'm in the business, but I wasn't taught anything. I was taught when I came into the business, everyone, I was taught, first of all, they gave me a phone book, right? And they said, all these people are homeowners. Call them and see if they want to refinance. And that's how I first started getting deals, by calling a freaking phone book. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I learned the business. So the people that were in the business, most of them didn't look like us. That's number one. So they was only making money off of us. I was a trained assassin. You know, I was trained by Wall Street guys that didn't make it in Wall Street, but they brought that same philosophy to to the mortgage business. So you ever seen that movie Boiler Room?
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, that's my life early in the mortgage business. Pound the phone, smile and dial, doing what you have to do. So as I'm getting this money, no one's teaching me, oh, what do you have to do with the money, right? I knew, okay, let me buy a house, let me do this, let me flip it, I can make some money doing this, right? But I'm still blowing money fast. I'm buying cars, I'm in the clubs, I'm having a good time, right? Traveling, doing what I want to do. And then when the market crashed, I wasn't prepared for it. So I lost property. I lost cars. I've lost all the materialistic things that I idolized at one point in my life. And God, I tell people all this time, the universe humbled me. It was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. And at that time, I didn't think that. I went through a depression. It was crazy because you go from making $30,000-$40,000 a month to now you're making $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month. Now I have young children. I'm losing homes. I lost my house. Like it was crazy. So, but I still knew that I couldn't get paid. I knew one thing. I couldn't go to work for Time Warner or Comcast or Verizon or one of these places and make $40,000 a month. So for me, I said, this recession is still going on. I got to figure it out. I'm going on job interviews and they won't hire me because they're like, yo, you made too much money. What makes you think you're going to stay here making $15 an hour? So, but that was a blessing that no company would hire me because it made me stay in business and keep going through the motions, going through the recession. I'm working for companies, man, and I'm telling you, I'm old commission. They'll go out of business, file Chapter 11. Now I don't get paid commission. Work for another company, close some deals, they go out of business 6 months later, still owing you money. It was crazy. 2007, 2008, 2009, those 3 years of my life were absolutely insane. It was crazy. But what gave me hope is when I saw Barack got elected. And I said, wait a minute, a black man is the president in my lifetime? I said, nah. If he can become the president, I can get out of this rut. And it took me really until like 2010, 2011 to really get out of that depression, to really get out of that cloud that was over me. And then, I just started little by little getting my swagger back, so to speak. And, here we are today.
I love it. I love it, man. And that's what's so dope about it is because you kept fighting, right? Every single time it felt like, okay, this has got to work. I found a new company. I know a little bit more now than I did this last time, but boom, they go out of business. Okay, well, the next one's got to work. But you kept that mindset. And so I love that because that's why we have this podcast, this DreamNation. There's a lot of people that are going through it every single day, that they get in these small L's, but they're looking for that inspiration and they're looking for people just like MG, right? To be like, man, if he could go through all of these things and come out now where he's crushing it in the mortgage business and now licensed all across the country, I know that I can do it. So I love that mindset. Let's transition it a little bit. And let me ask for what are you seeing right now in the mortgage industries as far as people getting home loans? Do you feel like it's easier? Because some people say that, the government is not starting to loosen up. So there's a lot of signs that it will go back towards like 2008, 2009. What has your experience been on that?
It's definitely not as difficult as it was coming out of the recession at first. 2010, 2011, 2012, it was new guidelines, new regulations. They overregulated us in our industry, rightfully so, because we brought down the whole economy, right? So we got a spanking when it came to regulation. Rightfully deserved, right? I personally feel as if the business today is 10 times better than what it was during the wild cowboy days. That's pre-recession for all you folks out there. So anytime you hear me say wild cowboy days, I'm talking about 2003 to 2007, 2008. All right. So I personally like the business now, and I don't think it's anywhere near like those days because back in those days, listen, I was getting people loans with a 550 credit score and getting them 100% financing with no docs. So you can't do that today. You can't do a no doc at a 550 credit score and get 100% financing.
Right.
So is it Are they loosening up with some of the regulations and everything like that? Absolutely. But you still have to put some skin in the game. Even there's a lot of programs that are similar to back in the day. Like you have a lot of bank statement loans that are coming back into the marketplace. You have cash flow type of loans where we're not looking at your personal income. The loans are basically being underwritten like commercial loans, but for residential properties, investment properties. But you have to put down 20-25% down. So it's a different landscape compared to where it was 10, 12, 13 years ago. But they are loosening up things. It is a little bit easier to get approved for loans. We're approving people, every single day. It's very rare that I have a loan decline nowadays. And people qualify. We're asking for their documentation, and that's the big thing now. We're verifying. Like, you can't give me your W-2s and that's it. We're not checking it. We're going to the IRS, and we're going to say, IRS, with a 4506, verify this for us, right? So now there's so much technology and so much software in today's market that we use on the mortgage side that it's very difficult to commit fraud, to be honest with you. Now, people still do it every day, but it's not as easy as it was 2000 during the Wild Cowboy days, because we didn't have all the technology and everything that we have today.
Got it. When you say that you're able to approve people, at what are they looking at? A holistic file, or are they solely looking at if you got enough income, which is most important, that you could pay back the loan, that your credit score isn't, as much of a factor? Or is it still like, no, you need to have at least a 620 credit score, we can't really rock with you?
It's everything, man. It's your ability to repay is the most important thing. No bank wants to lend money if you can't pay them back, period, point blank. So We're going to verify your credit. We're looking at your credit score, but we're not just looking at your credit score. We're looking at your credit utilization. We're looking at your W-2s.
And explain credit utilization for people who don't know.
Are you over leveraged? If you're maxed out on all your cards and you have late payments on your car loan that may be $30,000, and you're always late on your credit cards, then why would someone give you a $400,000 mortgage or a $100,000 mortgage? Like, what makes you think? What makes you think that we believe you that you're going to pay us back if you can't even manage a cell phone bill? So people have to look at that. You have to manage your debt. Credit is the driving force of the economy. Without credit, you can't get anything. Look at the U.S. U.S. is in debt for trillions, right? That's all based off of credit. You know what I'm saying? So you got to really look at how this world works. So people sitting here, with a 550 credit score, want to buy a house. That's great, but you got to take care of the first step, and that's getting your credit right. So we look at all of that, right? We're going to verify your W-2s, your pay stubs. We're going to verify your tax returns. If you are self-employed and you're looking to do like a minimum down payment primary residence home, we're looking to see not your gross income, but what is your net income? Are you paying yourself anything? Because plenty of people own businesses and make $1 million gross income, but you're not paying yourself that. So that's not your income. I can't tell you how many people I speak to that tell me I make $500,000 a year. No, your business makes that, right? Not you. It's a big difference. So if your CPA is just deducting everything, which is great for Uncle Sam purposes, but it's not good when it comes to trying to borrow and get financing for your real estate deals. So we verify everything, brother. We turning up every stone, and we're trying to see what's really there, because the most important thing is the ability to pay back. Can you pay it back?
I love it. And that's what I always tell people, right? When we talk about credit, for me, I say that credit comes from the word credibility, right? Do I have trust in your ability to make these payments back on time and over time? Right. If most people don't get that. But when we talk about utilization as well, that was something that I didn't know, was how much of a factor, that the amount of credit that you have and how much you're spending on it. And I believe you could correct me if I'm wrong, but banks want you to be under 30% of your total credit that you're giving. So if you're giving $100,000, they don't want you to be over $30,000 total leverage, because then it looks like that you don't budget very well. Is that right?
No, I mean, we look at the debt to income ratios are calculated a little bit differently than that. We're more so looking at the monthly minimum payments versus your balance. But from a financial advisor perspective, you're 100% right. You don't want to be over leveraged. You don't want to have, $1 million worth of debt and you only make 100K a year. Like, how are you going to pay off that $1 million, right?
Right.
So, but it's all DTI. Everything is DTI driven, debt to income ratio driven. So if your monthly minimum payments are there and you are within a certain percentage, depending on the loan product, then you can get approved for it. But what I try to tell everybody is, just because you are eligible for financing doesn't mean you can afford it. It's a big difference, right? Because when we calculate your income, we're calculating your income based off the gross. If you're a W-2 person, we're looking at your gross, not your net, to qualify you. We're not looking at your car insurance. We're not looking at your child care bill. We're not looking at your cell phone bill. We're not taking into consideration how much you spend in groceries, food, activities with your children. So you, as a potential home buyer, you have to pay attention to that, because most lenders and most loan officers out there won't even discuss that with you. We're trained to look at what's on your credit report. That's all we care about. Do you qualify for this? And you may be at a 50% debt to income ratio and you qualify, but you really can't afford it. So I just want people to really understand there's a big difference between eligibility and affordability. Big difference.
Love it. Love it. There's a nugget right there. So for anybody who's listening right now, that's definitely a gem. So make sure that you rewind that, take some notes on it. So then when you go sit down with your mortgage lender, you can already come and be like, listen, I know that you probably looking at affordability rather than if I can, qualify for it. Because then they're going to look at you like, okay, well, they've already done some of their homework. Now talk to me about if somebody's going in and let's say that it's my first home and I'm thinking of doing let's say I want to do a 3-plex or a 4-plex, right? I want to do something that's multiple units so I could do what a lot of people like to call house hacking. I can live in one side and I can rent out the other ones. How much do you as a mortgage lender take into account that now I will be bringing in extra income, even though my holistic, situation might not be the best right now?
Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of house hacking. I speak about it often on my page. Anyone who comes to me, if you're a first-time home buyer, and if you have the aspiration of being a landlord, building some sort of portfolio, then you should not be looking at a condo or single family. You should be looking at a multifamily, because that multifamily property, if you're a first-time home buyer, you can put down 3.5% and get a 4-plex, or 3.5% and get a triplex, right? It's a lot easier to go down 4, 3, 2, 1 than it is to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Because once you have that one, now everything else, you buy a duplex, now it's considered an investment property, and now you have to put down 20 to 25%. So it's a lot easier if you go with the 4, 3, 2, 1 strategy and house hack and put less down every time. But to answer your question, we use the rental income. 75% of the gross rental income when you're purchasing a home, we can use that to help you qualify. So simple numbers, if one unit is receiving $1,000 a month, then we can use $750 to help you qualify. But again, going back to my earlier statement, there's a big difference between eligibility and affordability, because tenants are not guaranteed to pay your rent. So what I try to coach people on is make sure you still can pay that mortgage. Make sure, please, because if your tenant is late, if they don't pay, then you're the one who has to make sure you can pay it. Right. So don't just go into the multifamily thinking you're going to live for free, because you may hear people speak about it on the internet. You may hear me speak about it. But there's only so much you can put in a 60-second clip on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you have your financial plan in place, and that's why I always recommend for first-time home buyers, have the mindset of the 1% and have a financial superstar team, right? Have your dream team of professionals, have your CPA, have your financial advisor, have that conversation with them to make sure that home ownership is lining up with your overall financial picture, because sometimes it doesn't. And, in our industry, we're just trained, let's pre-approval, let's get you a house, right? That's all you see, buy this house, make money. But it may not go in with your financial picture. And there's nothing against renting. If you have to rent to save up more money, if you have to rent for a year or two, just to put yourself in a better financial position, that way when you do buy, it's affordable and you're not just eligible, then hey man, do what you gotta do, man. It's not one size fit all.
I love the fact that you talked about the 4-3-2-1, because I've never even put it in that perspective, right? It's a lot easier to go down than it is to go up. And that second property, just like you said, will be considered an investment property. And they're going to want you to put 20 to 25% down based off the relationship. And then you're buying.
Plus your closing costs.
Plus your closing costs. So yes, definitely look at that. Start out big as you can, right? And then if you do it the right way and you make sure that you can pay that mortgage, right? And then you're going to get some appreciation from there. If you can add some value add, it allows you to then maybe go get another one a lot easier than it would on your second one if you're talking about multifamily.
Well, let's look at it like this, right? Most first-time home buyers, and you being a real estate professional, you understand this comment that I'm about to say to you. Most people are just scrounging up enough money to buy that one house, to come up with the down payment. A lot of first-time home buyers, they need some sort of down payment assistance, or they got to get a grant from somebody, or they need to get a gift, So they're putting all this money, right? Just scrambling to get all this money up, and they're only basically getting what they can. They're kind of settling in some cases because they may not be able to afford the house that they really want in the school district that they really want. So they say, oh, we'll just settle, we'll go here, this is still a good area, but it may not be everything that you still want. So my philosophy is, hey, why not go to 4-3-2-1 strategy, live in it for 1 year, make that sacrifice, move down, right? And maybe it take you 3 years to accumulate those 3 properties. But now when you're ready to get to the 1, now you have cash flow coming in every single month. Now that cash flow that's coming from the 4, that's coming from the 3, that's coming from the 2, now it can help you afford what you really want and probably pay for it. So now you can live for free if you buy right. If you have the mindset of an investor, if you buy right, that first-time home buyer could have 9 units by year 4.
Man. There you have it, people. I love it. And we always talk about this. Anybody who's been watching YouTube, Instagram, you make money when you buy, not when you sell. So when he says buy right, you got to understand buy right. And then if you can manage it right, and then you could scale right, because not every way to scale is the right way. It's kind of like the affordability, a thing that he said earlier. So I love that. You mentioned about down payment assistance programs, and a lot of people want to know, because a lot of the times when you go in and you're talking to a bank or a loan officer, you only know of the products that they'll tell you about. But a lot of the time, some of those other products could be a good one for you, but it's a hassle for them and potentially even for the bank. So what's the way to be able to know, what are some questions that you can ask to be able to say, how, and what type of programs do you really like out there for somebody who is looking to get their first home?
Well, I mean, listen, most loan officers will only speak on products that they offer at the bank or brokerage that they work for, right? I'm a little bit different. I speak about mortgages. That's why my name is MG the Mortgage Guy, because my job is to know everything about a loan. It doesn't matter if the bank that I work for currently doesn't offer that product. I'm a knowledgeable person. If you come to me and want to know about DPA, I don't do any down payment assistance in-house type of deals, right? My bank is based in Michigan, so we have DPA programs in Michigan because we have a footprint there, a depository footprint. But I'm in New York, so we don't have a depository, so I don't offer that. But there are programs here in New York, like Sony Mae, State of New York Mortgage Agency, that offers down payment assistance that you can get 3% for down payment, max $15K, and use it for down payment or closing costs. But I tell people, hey, this program is available. Even though I can't personally do it today, let me refer you to my person at this bank that I know that does it, or refer to this person at this bank that I know that can take care of you. Because my goal as the mortgage guy is not about me making currency right now. It's more about legacy. So if I can point somebody in the right direction of something that I'm not doing, why not? That's going to help that person. And I'm not looking for anything in return. It's just you came to me for a reason. You're using me as a resource. Let me point you in that direction. Now, there's plenty of down payment assistance programs out there. What I tell everyone is check, like Google, wherever town you in, Oklahoma, right? Google down payment assistance Oklahoma, down payment assistance New York. You'll see a ton of things that will come up. And most of the time, these grant programs that are there for first-time home buyers, they are accessible. So only thing you have to do is put in keywords in Google, and all the information will come up. Work with your local realtors that work in these markets. The local realtors will know about the programs if they work, or focus in that first-time home buyer community. So, there's a lot of resources that's available to people. It's hard for me to pinpoint because I know we're nationwide. We're doing deals all over the country, and I know your reach is far too. You have a good audience. So for your audience, I would just tell them, man, Google is your best friend. Just make sure you're putting in the right keywords: down payment assistant, home buyer grants, for the town or city that you live in, and you'll get all the information you need from there.
There's another gem, right? That's what it is. A lot of people, they don't understand. I'm telling you, that's why I love having people just like you on the show, right? Is because you drop so much knowledge and you put it in such a simplistic form, because people they don't think to Google and just be like, okay, first time home buyer assistance program. And then they think because no one gave it to me, like it's not out there. No, because a lot of people don't know about it. And if you're not with a mortgage lender like you, a mortgage guy that's not knowledgeable about all these different programs, they're just going to say, yeah, we don't do that. Right. So that has you being discouraged that they don't offer it, or it's not available to you, is a better way to put it.
Well, to expand on that, right? My earlier comment, I said you have to build your financial super team, right? Your loan officer is probably one of the most important keys to your financial super team, because if you are looking to continue to buy real estate, you need a mortgage guy. There's no way around it. Most people just say, oh, I'll just walk into the bank. It's my local bank or my local credit union. But you walking into, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? And I don't want to try to come off disrespectful to my colleagues that work at these institutions. But 90% of them are probably order takers. Walk in, if you don't meet a certain box, kick rocks, you don't meet our criteria, go find somewhere else, right?
Right.
But that's like going to McDonald's to me, right? When you go to McDonald's, you order a burger, they're going to say you want fries with it. They're order takers. But when I want a good meal, I'm going to go to Roof Chris Steakhouse. I'm going to go to Peter Luger's. I'm going to go to Capitol Grill, right? Because when I want to know about this wine selection, I need to make sure that my waiter or waitress knows about wine. Because I want to know, how can I pair this the steak, and what's the best wine option to go with the steak, right? And that's when you have a mortgage guy like myself. I'm like that guy that's going to not just tell you, hey, a generic answer. I'm going to really use strategy. I'm going to really try to help you grow your portfolio and help you expand and give you knowledge, so that way you retain it and you can trust, but also verify what I'm saying too, because I'm going to make it so clean and simple for you that you can go on Google, you could go on YouTube, you can ask other loan officers. Now you can have conversations with other loan officers, and now you can vet them out too. Like, wait a minute, I know the answer to this because MG told me this, but you don't even know this. So you know what? Maybe you're not the person I need to work with, right? So building your financial super team is very important. Don't just settle because, oh, my father or my parent told me to go to the credit union because they got lower rates. You get what you pay for in life at the end of the day. You want lower rates and no good service? Great. That's like you want fast food, go to McDonald's. Great. It's cheap. But I'm sorry, I'd rather get a burger from Capitol Grill because they're going to cook it medium. they're going to cook it the way I want it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So pick poison and choose wisely.
For you, as you've been on your entrepreneur journey and also, doing the mortgage thing and crushing it with that, have you had any great business books? Have you had any great podcasts? Like, how do you continue to re-energize yourself every day?
That is a very good question. I'm so happy you asked me that, right? I don't read books. I read guidelines. That's what I read. I'm not, and I know there's a lot of good readers out there, right? And I'm not. That's just not me. Like I have ADD or something. Like I get through a chapter, and I'm like, yo, I can't do this no more, right? But I get more knowledge from watching YouTube. Before I just started, I've been on YouTube since 2011, but I used it like everyone else, YouTube University. February of this year is when I decided to start making content for YouTube, and I had no subscribers, no nothing. I think I'm close to 2,000 in like 3 months now, because I now just started to put out content. I said I'm gonna use it for business now, so that now I can become a resource for others because I used it as university for me, and that's how I learn things. I read on my business. I want to learn about. I want to be the mortgage guy. I don't want to be, this guy who's doing this. I don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Even during the Wild Cowboy days, there were so many opportunities to do multi-level marketing, to do this, to do that, and there's no disrespect to any of those type of platforms because people do very well in them. But it just wasn't for me. I'm a fan of staying in my lane, and my lane is mortgages. Ask me anything about mortgages. If I don't know the answer, I'm gonna get the answer to the question because I know how to find it. I want to master mortgages, and I still haven't mastered mortgages. There's so much more opportunity for me in my space. I have no desire to look at anything else. That's what I would advise anybody. Listen, whatever you want to do with your life, where you trying to go, find the people in that space. It's easier now than ever to go on YouTube, go on Instagram, go on Facebook, and to kind of watch how they move. And this is a copycat world, man. You don't have to go and try to reinvent the wheel. Just do whatever the hell they're doing and do it with your swag, with your drip, with your taste, do it with you. Be yourself. Stay in your lane and just copy them. I copy from everybody. I'm going to do it my way. Why I'm going to sit here and try to think of what to do when I can just go watch someone else and say, oh, that looks good. You know what? Let me try it, but let me put my spin on it because I got to be authentic to myself too. But the roadmap is already here for all of us. You just got to go out and execute it.
I love it. I love it, bro. One thing before we get you up off here, one thing that's been going through my mind and I've been trying to educate myself on is there's something that's going around where people are using HELOCs to accelerate their mortgage paying down. Like how much of that do you recommend it? What do you know about it? Because I've been trying to educate myself, YouTube University, on using HELOCs to accelerate your mortgage. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, so HELOCs, for people who don't know, is a home equity line of credit, right? A home equity line of credit, it works like a credit card for the first 10 years. It is an interest-only payment. You don't pay any principal unless you apply extra money to the principal. As you pay down your principal, you have the ability to take from it. So you can use it, take it, use it, take it, use it, take it, right? For 10 years. Use it, pay it off, use it, pay it off for 10 years. And then after 10 years, it turns into a 20-year principal and interest fixed rate mortgage. So if you go with that strategy, you really only have 10 years to pay it off. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of that strategy. Using a HELOC as your like if you have a smaller mortgage, then I guess it's okay. But I'm in New York, your mortgage could be $700,000. Right. So you're now telling me I have to pay off this in 10 years, $700K. Now, unless you're making if you're disciplined and you're making good enough money, yeah, you can do it. But I don't think it's for everybody. I think you can be in a regular traditional mortgage and still pay it down in 10 years, in 15 years by applying extra to your principal balance without having that pressure of I have to do it within this time or my payment is going to balloon, for the next 20 years. So I think you just have to kind of like research it and see if it fits you because everybody needs it different. Everybody has a different loan amount. Everyone makes a different amount of money. So if it works for you, then I would say go for it. Just do your due diligence like you're doing and make sure it's the right thing for you.
Got it. Love it. I love it. So there's somebody out there that's listening right now that's super inspired where you came from, where you are today, but they still got that little voice in their head that's telling them that they're not strong enough, they're not smart enough, and they really don't know if they can make happen, their dreams, their goals. They don't know if they could turn it into a reality. What's that one thing that you tell that person that's listening right now?
Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Execute. At some point in time, you have to stop researching. You have to stop watching YouTube University. You got to kind of put your faith in whoever your believer is. Put your faith in it and walk out on faith and execute your plan. Don't screw fair. I was about to curse. I'm trying to keep it PG here, but screw fair and just stay in your lane, man. There's too many people out here because of social media. The bad thing about social media, it brings a lot of foolishness in front of you every single day, and people are out here fronting. People are out here portraying that they are bigger than what they really are, and then someone who doesn't have a strong mind or a strong support system will think they need to be that in order to be successful. When as long as you wake up every single day and you are above ground, that's a success right there. Everything else doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So stay in your lane, do what you have to do, research, prior preparation prevents piss poor management. I'm a big fan of that saying. Build your foundation. You can't build a house by starting with the roof. You need your foundation first. Then you can go up, not the other way around. So don't speed. Take your time. It's not that serious. There's no rush, but there is a rush because at some point you got to execute. I know I contradicted myself right there, but so what? Just do it in your time because you may be thinking you're late, but in fact, you're just early. Right. So that's all I got to say about that, man.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, I want to be the first one to kick off the thank you train. I know there's people out there that their lives were changed today. DreamNation, if you want to be able to connect with Mr. MG, Matt Garland, where can they find you at?
YouTube, Instagram, MG the Mortgage Guy. If you have any questions, you can shoot me a DM. Now, if you shoot me a DM, I'm going to tell you right now, do not write me a 4-page letter in my DM. Please send me a voice note and be patient, please, because I get a lot of DMs. I try to get to everyone. My goal is to be the mortgage guy for everyone across the country. I'm licensed nationwide. I'll come with strategy. I'll help you figure out. I'll help you get clarity when it comes to real estate and financing. And MG the Mortgage Guy. That's how you can find me.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you again. We can't wait to have you back on the show.
Yes, man. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I love what you're doing. Keep going, man. And I love the name of your show. I'm a dreamer too, so for me, this is perfect, man. So I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be on your platform. You have no clue, man. I'm truly humbled by this, so thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
That's the episode for today. Let me know if you got any value out of this, if you liked anything about it. Reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter, any of the social media networks, and of course, leave me a review, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you're hearing this at. I would love to have a review to show, what you're getting out of this. Is there anything that I could do better? Is there any way that I can add more value to you? So hopefully you all take some action today. That's my show. I love you all. Be great. But remember, we must take action.